Happy New Year, guys. It is Monday, January 6th, 2020, and you're watching the Daily Mix TV. Hi, my name is Sean Patrick Hillman. So, we've been off the air for the last 3 weeks. We had vacation for 2 weeks for Christmas and New Year. And then, of course, the week before that, unfortunately, I had walking pneumonia. Now, I wanted to say thank you to so many of you. I got your emails, I got your text messages, I got your Facebook messages saying that you hope I feel better and you can't wait to see me in 2020 and learn more about marketing and business from the Daily Mix TV. That's why I do this, guys. I don't do it for fame or any of that crap. I do it simply because I want to help as many people as I can to better understand their business, to better understand the marketing decisions they make and what happens when pop culture and society shift, whether it's trend or a political issue or a stock market issue, how that ends up affecting your bottom line. So, thank you so much for sending me those messages. Please keep sending them. It's nice to get feedback. I love hearing from you guys about what you enjoy and what you don't from the Daily Mix TV. Now, speaking of which, as it is 2020, unfortunately, no Jetsons flying cars like we were promised when I was a kid. Damn. But it is 2020, and with that is going to come some changes. So, over the course of the next 30 days, I'm going to be announcing a number of changes that'll happen to the Daily Mix TV, as well as another organization, Rock 'em Rawhide, the charity that my wife and I co-founded 9 years ago to help increase the level of adoptions of dogs and cats in shelters. So, lots of exciting stuff happening. My suggestion to you folks, buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride all year long for both the Daily Mix TV and Rock 'em Rawhide. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're definitely going to help save a lot more animals. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to help you guys learn a little bit more about your business. So I'm going to get started. There are a couple of personal notes first. The first one being thank you to my father-in-law, Jack, who knows how much I love Star Trek. He got me this for Christmas. It's a personalized coffee cup of the USS Enterprise from the NX-1 from the series Enterprise. So thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. Love you, man. I hope you're doing better. On another note, and this is a little somber, a number of you are probably wondering, why is this guy wearing a motorcycle jacket on a show about business and marketing? It's actually very simple. When I first started doing the Daily Mix TV a couple of years ago, a dear friend of mine, one of my oldest family friends, and somebody who I've worked with for a very long time, I've known him my entire life. He worked with my parents, and then I worked with him later. He had suggested, his name was Steve Goldstein. He had suggested that I wear my favorite attire on air, my motorcycle jacket. I've had this jacket for almost 30 years, and believe it or not, still fits, still as comfortable as ever. He said I should just be that cool marketing guy. Well, maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong, but you know what? After having worked with Steve for over 20 years on brands like Jose Cuervo and Finlandia Vodka and Bacardi Rums and more, I think I'll take his sage advice, even if it's only for a day. Now, I bring this up for a very specific reason. Sadly, Steve passed away on Christmas Eve from cancer. He was one of the most brilliant marketers I have ever known, certainly have worked with. And he always knew, always, how to have fun while delivering best-in-class results. He was one of the most brilliant marketers, certainly one of the greatest friends you could ever ask for. And I'm going to miss him a lot. He made his mark in the spirits world. He made his mark in public relations and in marketing. And he was a brilliant man. And, I loved him like he was an uncle of mine. So, Steve, rest in peace, my old friend. You will be missed. On to the news. All right. So, the holiday season every year. In January, people look back to November and December, or actually October, November, and December, what's called OND, to try and understand what took place in sales so that they can better forecast for the following year. Remember, in holiday planning, especially at retail and consumer packaged goods, you start to plan your holiday cycle the year before. So, or excuse me, at the top of the year. So right now you've got brands that are planning for holiday 2020. They're already, pushing through purchase orders with manufacturers, things like that, in order to get their plans ready for holiday so that when October comes for Halloween, they're ready to pull the trigger right into November and certainly through to December 24th, which is where a lot of the study indexes stop for holiday traffic and certainly holiday sales results. Now, speaking of which, and we're going to get into this right now, retailers right now have a lot to be happy about with respect to the past holiday season. According to MasterCard Spending Pulse, which it provides insights into overall retail spending trends across all payment types, so cash, check, credit card, and so on. According to MasterCard Spending Pulse, holiday retail sales increased 3.4%, with online sales growing at an astounding 18.8% compared to 2018. Now, the Spending Pulse report details holiday shopping from November 1st through Christmas Eve, which I just said, December 24th. That is usually where those numbers, when you look at statistics and data, that's where those numbers come from. It's not until about the end of January, top of February, where you get a much better picture and a more specific picture of the exact nature of your holiday sales through to the first of the year. So, as you guys begin to plan for holiday 2020, you can use these early data points, these early statistics to get that planning going, but then you've got to sort of hone in and finally craft that once you have the final statistics. So, the Spending Pulse report, in this case, the key findings indicate that it was a winning holiday season for retail, especially at e-commerce. Now, total apparel saw a gain of about 1% for growth over year. The category also experienced stronger than expected e-commerce growth, up 17%. Now, that's an interesting statistic because for a little while in the last couple of years, you saw apparel starting to trend down online and up at traditional bricks and mortar. The reason being, a lot of people are tired of getting shoes that don't fit and then returning them through the mail, and then they got to wait and all of those things. It's the instant gratification of shopping that people are looking for. So that's where that trend came from. Where this new uptick in e-commerce and apparel came from is purely driven by sales. You look at, and I mean sales promotions, not sales as in numbers. When you look at what's gone on over the last 6 months in retail, especially in the e-commerce side, the promotion to push for omni-channel, so the mix of traditional retail and your online, so whether that's buy online, pick up in store, or BOPIS, or it's some other form at that retailer, that's where omni-channel plays an important role. So apparel has upticked for a whole lot of promotional reasons. Now, the jewelry sector, this is where it gets interesting. A 1.8% growth in total retail sales, with online sales growing 8.8%. That number is astounding. Why? Jewelry for the last couple of years has had a lot of challenges. When you look at the mid 2000s, which gave rise to the proliferation of lab grown gemstones. That means a diamond that's grown in a lab versus organic compressed in the ground. Those gemstones are almost half the price of what their organic counterparts are. So in the mid 2000s, you saw this meteoric rise of the sale of lab grown diamonds and other gems. What's happened though is Gen X and baby boomers who traditionally buy more jewelry versus millennials who don't. Millennials typically do not buy those kinds of keepsakes. They're handed down to them. Whether they keep them or not is a different story. But at the end of the day, they're not the ones who are buying those things. And we've all seen the stories about how millennials are spending less on engagement rings and things like that. So when you look at a sector that historically over the last, call it 5 years, has trended down slightly as ticking up, that is a really good sign and a good indicator that things are starting to change a little bit, especially for that sector. Now, when you look at brands like Zales or Kay, in the mid 2000s that were banking on those lab grown diamonds. Now, today, you look at Jared and those guys. At the end of the day, the mall operation or the sort of secondary or specialty store, in terms of how they're activating their sales, they did a much smarter job marketing this year. On top of that, you had one very big hot button topic that hit during the holiday season, and that was LVMH's acquisition of Tiffany and Company. So I believe that's closing now, waiting to hear on the final on that one. But it's going to be an interesting time in 2020 for the jewelry sector. So stay tuned on that one. Now, the department stores. This is where things get to be really dicey. Department stores experienced a 1.8% decline in traditional retail sales, but their online sales grew almost 7%, which emphasizes that importance of omnichannel, as I talked about before. So whether you're, a Bloomingdale's person, a Macy's person, a Saks Fifth Avenue person, at the end of the day, when you look at omnichannel with respect to the necessity of growth for retailers, omnichannel plays such an important role in department store health, in revenue and profit. So for them, they did a much smarter job in terms of that omnichannel push. The challenge I have is the overall sales decline of 1.8%. That is a really, really worrying number. When you look at the Great Recession and what had happened going into 2008, 2009, we saw department stores eviscerated. And anybody who is in a major metro area who went to a department store this holiday season, you would have noticed less foot traffic. I know I did. So, excuse me, I still have a tickle in my throat. Still getting over a little bit of what's left from, unfortunately, that pneumonia. Anyway, when you get into looking at what happened at department stores during the holiday season, it was a big challenge. And they really have fallen on their sword in terms of pushing their e-commerce side. But the traditional side of department store retail, make no mistake about it, because they keep blaming Amazon, it's their fault. They've not given consumers a reason to believe to go back into those stores enough. And I really am hoping that 2020 is a turnaround for those department stores, because if they don't make those changes, and if they don't continue to evolve their programming and get people in those doors, unfortunately, many of them will be gone by the end of this year. Electronics and appliances were up 4.6%, so that's not a surprise. That's usually a holiday leader. Home furniture and furnishings grew about 1.3%. So, again, that's the MasterCard Spending Pulse. They do a great job every year. I rely on it for forecasting for a whole lot of reasons, because it helps me to understand when I look at the last season's sales with respect to holiday specifically. It helps to be able to figure out, okay, this worked and this trended during the holiday season in terms of those sales potential and what the actual lift was, versus what we're looking at from a trend cycle perspective going into this year, as an example, 2020. What's going to be the trend of the year? Where are you going to see your real audience coming from? And how do you pivot to make sure that you're increasing those sales, that revenue, certainly your profit? All right, brands can literally live or die by promotions. We all know this. It used to be location, location, location. Well, today it's marketing, marketing, marketing. That is what is really driving a lot of business today. It's not just about your real estate choice. It's not just about the kind of promotion that you're running. It's about both in this case. So in the fast casual and casual dining segments, you've got a lot of challenges with respect to millennials and their behaviors. Gen Z is starting to show adoption of behavior and trend forecast the way that Gen X and baby boomers did. So they're very different than millennials in terms of targeting and in terms of execution. So I'm going to use Darden Restaurants as an example. Remember, I said at the top of the show that we were off the air for 3 weeks. Right before Christmas, right before our last episode, Darden had released their latest quarterly results, which ended November 24th. So they posted a 2% increase in same-store sales across all of their casual and fine dining brands in that last quarter. However, it was Longhorn Steakhouse that boosted them because of a less than flavorful start from Olive Garden, which was hammered by a poor performing lasagna meal promotion. Believe it or not, when you get into promotion and you get into forecasting, you need to be as specific as a lasagna meal promotion is the reason why your numbers are down. So, what did they do to combat this? How did Olive Garden come back from all of those losses? Well, they brought back the never ending Pasta Bowl special and introduced a new weekday lunch menu with 21 options under $10. Remember, not just for forecasting purposes, not just for performance purposes, but you've got to look at who you really are as a brand and as a business. Olive Garden is a value driven casual dining establishment. Period. End of story. There's no getting around that. When you try and premiumize a brand, we saw it happen with Bacardi, we saw it happen with Ford. You've seen it happen in a lot of different sectors. There are brands that just cannot possibly change their audience in that way. And Olive Garden is no different than that. You look at the fact that that never-ending Pasta Bowl promotion saved their butt in terms of their quarterlies, and they were able to launch a new weekday lunch special menu at a lower price. That's what Olive Garden's known for. The place where you bring your family, you can have a less expensive meal that still tastes really good, and you get good service. It's a nice family establishment. When you try and change that, that's where the challenge really comes in. Now, total sales at Darden did increase 4.2% to $2.06 billion in the second quarter, which I said ended November 24th. For Darden going forward with Olive Garden, be who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. So let me give you a different example to help color this a little more. So in traditional retail, you've got mass and you've got class. So mass is mass market. So your Walmarts, your Targets, your Kohl's, that kind of thing. Okay. Some of that is specialty, but most of it is mass market. Then you also include under that rung Costco and wholesalers like that, BJ's Wholesale Club, those kinds of things. On the class side, which is called prestige, you've got fine and department stores like Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Saks and so on. So when you launch a brand into prestige, you can then down trade into mass market to make even more money. You can't do it the other way around. There are very, 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 very few brands that have been able to launch at mass and then catapult into prestige. So bear that in mind and then extrapolate and compare. Olive Garden is mass. There's nothing wrong with that. That's who they are. They make a good amount of money. It's a good business and the food is good. So at the end of the day, when you look at Olive Garden as a business, they need to stick to that family approach. And yes, they do need to evolve for sure, but they need to evolve in a way that makes sense from either an entertainment perspective, a programming perspective, whatever that is. But changing the baseline promos and who you are as a brand is not the answer. So I'm glad that they were able to recover. I'm hoping that Darden keeps that path going, especially for Olive Garden. Now, speaking of food, there's an even wider variety of products to choose from when it comes to Mars's, Uncle Ben's, and Seeds of Change brands. Created to help consumers enjoy the convenience of beans with one-step preparation, the products come in a variety of flavors. Products found in Uncle Ben's beans variety include New Orleans style, Southern chili, sweet and smoky, and then zesty Mexican style. Whereas on the Seeds of Change side, you've got Indian spice style lentils and chickpeas, vegetarian baked beans, savory Mexican style black beans, and hearty 3-bean chili. I bring this up for a few reasons. One, when you look at consumer packaged goods, especially in food, seasonal transactions are very important for your loyal customers. You want to make sure that you're adding flavor profiles in that are appropriate for that time of year. Certainly, programming and new products that appeal to your demographic, to your target during this time of year, especially. So, when I look at something like Southern chili or sweet and smoky, this time of year where it tends to be colder in most of the United States, that is definitely a smart move for Uncle Ben's. for Seeds of Change to be able to pivot and diversify culturally and ethnically is a very smart move for them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the sales results are. Uncle Ben's beans pouches retail for $2.69 each. Seeds of Change organic beans comes in at $3.49. And those retailers include companies like Walmart and Kroger. Okay, let's pivot a little bit here. For the first time ever, Facebook is going to air a 60-second ad during the upcoming Super Bowl. Featuring actors Chris Rock and Sylvester Stallone, the spot will promote Facebook's Groups feature, which I can tell you I use a lot. It's a great feature, but it's interesting in terms of the timing and how they're approaching this. So the social media giant launched a campaign to improve its public image. Remember, in 2019, they had scandal after scandal of breaches of trust, fake news, as much as I hate using that phrase, and a lot of people have started to defect from the platform. Now, granted, a lot of those people are going over to Instagram, which Facebook also owns, but we don't know how long that's going to last. Now, this new campaign is called More Together, and it's really about trying to reestablish that notion of trust with Facebook. Ads for this year's Super Bowl, which is going to be held in Miami, were being sold for $5.6 million for every 30-second spot, which beat last year's $5.3 million price tag. Now, remember, just before the holiday, I did announce Fox has sold out of their ad time during the game. So it's going to be an interesting game, to say the least, this year, certainly from an advertising perspective. I am hoping that Budweiser brings the Clydesdales back. Certainly, I hope that they bring that adorable puppy back, because you guys know how much I loved that spot. That one and the follow-up the following year. Okay, as much as I hate talking about this, I guess I don't have a choice. So the Daily Mix TV stays out of politics for a reason. For us, it's about business and pop culture and marketing and how all of those worlds come together. Obviously, entertainment is included in that. So last night's Golden Globes opened, thanks to Ricky Gervais, with a little bit of a dose of hard reality for Tinseltown's elite. You can hear it for yourself. In the spirit of the new year, and hopefully some semblance of the restoration of unity in this country, I just refuse to dial down into the banter of some of the celebrities that accepted their awards last night. You know, we need to stop this divide, and remember, it all starts with we are human. We are Americans, and united, we stand. Now, politically and business-wise, when I look at the Golden Globes, news just came out about an hour ago that ratings were down for the Golden Globes this year. So in 2019, if I remember correctly, it was about 18 million viewers, 18.8. This year, it's just about 14 million, so it's down 6%. That's a pretty big drop for an awards show that historically has been the lead up to the Oscars and so on and so forth. But also, the Golden Globes tends to be a little more loose, a little more fun. Let your hair down kind of thing. Last night wasn't like that. Now, I didn't watch the Golden Globes for a whole lot of reasons, but I did read every recap. I saw all of the summaries, certainly on Ricky Gervais's opening monologue. And I got to tell you, he was spot on. Folks, it isn't about your opinion. We don't want to hear your opinion. We don't care. What we care about is, did you do a great job in that role in that movie or in that TV show? That's what matters. So, last night, whether you love him or hate him, President Trump's current approval rating sits around 50%. So last night you had a bunch of actors who basically alienated half this country because they slammed him. So look, I'm not going to get into the political piece of this, but from a business and a marketing decision, that's not a very wise idea, guys. So let's move this forward. I'm hoping that 2020 is going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that, we bring some peace between the Democrats and the Republicans, and these people who we elect into office bother to start to act like adults instead of children in a schoolyard. Only time will tell. We'll see. But I can assure you of one thing. 2020 is going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride, and I really, really hope it's going to be as much fun as we all think it's going to be. My name is Sean Patrick Hillman. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mix TV. Thanks for watching, guys. It means a lot to us. We will see you tomorrow.